Hello and welcome to this NBS Chorus Masters Masterclass. A little bit of housekeeping to start with. The webinar will last a maximum of 45 minutes today. All your microphones are muted. If you do have any questions, use the question box on the screen. We will follow up after the session on all of those questions. For those of you who don't know me already, my name is Nicholas Armitt and I'm a trainer here at the NBS, and I'm going to be doing today's session. So before we actually start talking about masters, we need to really understand some of the benefits of using them. First of all, they'll help improve efficiency in your specifying. Using a master specification saves project specification preparation time. A comprehensive master contains descriptions of the most required products in a concisely written, well-organized, finished form, allowing the specifier to quickly delete products not applicable to the project. A small amount of work is then needed to add products unique to the project but not in the master. Changes noted from site observations can be made to the Office Master easily and efficiently for the benefit of succeeding project. You can expand decision-making capabilities. A comprehensive master includes a wide range of options from which to choose. The master specification becomes the corporate memory of the design firm, taking advantage of the expertise of all firm members and consultants. Policy decisions can be annotated in a master, specifications to benefit project specification development. This collective decision-making capability can be applied at times other than the last-minute crunch time for finishing a project specification. Helps with avoidance of delays in project development. Because master specifications can be made available to the design team early in the design phase, project specifications can be developed concurrently with drawings. Annotations can be made to the master specifications to guide the product selection and design decision process at the most appropriate time. This allows drawing details and associated specifications to occur simultaneously. Too often specification development is left to the last, when production time and resources are limited, allowing for little time for coordination. It can help minimize repetitive work. It gives a comprehensive master specification, frees design professionals from the drudgery of creating a project specifications from scratch or from previous project specifications. Design professionals have more time to design and coordinate their designs. Can reduce errors and omissions. A master specification becomes a project checklist to assist in considering the many issues and choices to be made during the design. Errors and omissions can be minimized because the amount of new text generated is minimized. Tried and tested specification clauses can provide some assurance of completeness and correctness. Specification errors discovered in the field can be annotated and corrected in the master specifications for the benefit of future projects. You can reduce liability. By reducing errors and omissions, master specifications can minimize the potential for litigation. With unified office terminology, users of a master specification, it helps standardize the terminology for the firm. Terminology from project to project can be consistent for the benefit of designers and contractors alike. Use of proven products and applications can be standardized within the firm, and problematic products and applications can be annotated for avoidance in future projects. The Master Specification becomes the repository for your corporate design policy. Stabilized office practice. Master Specifications as a source of information can be used to train inexperienced design personnel. The process of developing and maintaining master specifications can be an educational experience and activity. The process of using master specifications for projects can be standardized project production procedures. So these are some of the benefits that you will get through using masters within your organization. But then, in order to get these benefits, you need to have a strategy in place. And as part of that strategy, you need to ask some questions. Some of the key questions that you need to ask are, what content is going to be part of your masters? What level of detail are you going to have in those masters for the users of them to take into their specifications? How many masters are you going to have? Are you going to split your masters between disciplines? Or are you going to split them by type of job? The key one is, who's actually going to write those masters for you? And who's going to continue to maintain them to ensure that they're kept up to date with current standards? So as that strategy, what you need to do is get a team of people together, most probably the most experienced specifiers within your organization. Those who know the most about specification writing. You might bring people in from different disciplines or different specialities within your organization. And as a group, you then need to discuss through your strategy. Who's going to write them? Most probably those most experienced people. How they're going to maintain those specifications. And how they're going to give access to those master specifications to the other specifiers within your office. So we talked a little bit about strategy there. Why don't we have a look at Chorus and see how we can create our masters, how we can enable specifiers within the office to have access to them. So we started here in NBS Chorus on our projects page. And the first thing I have to mention is that Masters feature within Chorus is a Chorus Level 2 or Chorus Level 3 feature. If you have Chorus Level 1, you currently will not have access to Masters. If after this session it's something that you think would be beneficial to yourselves, then I would advise that you talk to your account manager who can talk through Masters with you and can sort out an upgrade to Chorus Level 2. Let's have a look at our Masters tab. At the top of the page you can see it says Projects, and next to that it says Masters. When I click on Masters, you'll be able then to see my master folders that I have already created. And these masters folders allow you to split up your specifications into different groups. So for example here, I've got a master folder for discipline content, and within that folder I might have architectural specifications, engineering specifications, and this enables you in the position as a multidiscipline practice to have those specifications contained together in one folder. Next, I've got some classification specs. So in this case, if I was a practice that wrote specifications in both common arrangements of work sections and uniclass, I could create 2 master folders for each classification to keep them separated. I might also choose to have master folders to cover different types of jobs, so residential, for example, education, and heritage masters. I could also have some large clients who I do a lot of regular work for. And in this case, I've got a coffee chain called Bean and Gone. And in there, I could have specifications that covered drive-through coffee shops and normal walk-in coffee shops, so that I can keep those master specifications separate and make it simpler for my specifiers to be able to select the master that is appropriate for what they want. Now, these masters folders can also contain prelims as well. So if you write prelims, you could have a master for your prelims that you could then use within projects going forward. So how do we create one of these folders to get us started? Well, you can either select the Create Folder option that will appear at the bottom of your screen, or we can click on the button here that's on the top right corner that says Create Folder. On clicking that button, it takes you into a screen that will seem familiar to all of those of you who are already using Chorus. This is the Create folder for a master. It's very similar to what you see when you create a project within Chorus. We can choose an image to add, and that can be either a JPEG, a PNG, or a GIF image. We would strongly recommend against not using GIF images. You've got a screen full of folders with GIF images on. It gets very distracting when they're animated. No image can be any larger than 2 meg. And to add that image, it's just a matter of clicking Choose File, going to locate a folder on your computer containing the images, and then selecting one of those images to use for your masters. So I'm going to select this one here that I've got. I'll bring that in. There's 2 fields which are required. Those are the folder code and the folder title, and you can tell that they're required because of the stars that are next to them. So for the purposes of this, I'm just going to put in today's date, and I'm going to put in my initials because the code that you used has to be unique. Folder title, in this case I'm just going to call this my refurbishment masters. We can give a folder type or a folder client if required, but those are not compulsory fields. If you want to put in a location, you can do that. In this case, because these are my refurbishment masters and they could be used anywhere in the United Kingdom, I'm not going to put a location in. And then folder description, or the scope of what this folder is for. So in this case, I'm going to go for refurbishment projects located in the United Kingdom. You might put a little bit more detail in there. This can be used to help those people using your masters to know how to use them, or what sorts of projects they are suitable for. In this case, I'm just going to go Create Folder, and you can now see I've got a Refurbishments Masters folder here alongside the other folders I already had. The next stage, now that we've got a folder in place, is to start adding master specifications to that folder. So let's just click into this Refurbishment Masters folder that we've created. And you can see on the left hand side are the details about my master. If I want to change any of those details, I can just click on Edit Details, and it will allow me to come in and make any changes I want to make. In this case, I'm not going to make any changes, so we'll just click Cancel. And what we want to look at is adding a specification into our master folder. So it's really simple. We've got here telling us we've got no masters to show, and to add a master specification, it's just a matter of clicking on Add Master. It will ask us for a title for the master. So in this case, I'm going to give this a title of Architectural Architecture Specification Master. I can then choose the content set, so I can use any of the content sets that I have access to. I can also use prelims, so you can make a master of your preliminaries so that you can use those. And I can use cores, or I can use Uniclass 2015 work sections. I'm going to select, just for the purposes of today, Uniclass 2015 work sections. You can see that I get an option here that appears in the same way as I do within a project when I bring in a specification, and it asks me, do I want to import an NBS create file? If I was to use a common and register work sections classification, I also get the message that says, do you want to import an NBS building or NBS landscape master? So you can import both building, landscape, and create specifications into your master project. In this case, I'll go back to Uniclass 2015 work sections, and I'm going to click Save. And again, the same way is that when you create a specification within your project, it takes you into the edit window. It does exactly the same here within the master. So on the left hand side, we've got the contents panel, which will contain either all your work sections, or it will contain all your products, systems, and activity clauses. In the center, you've got your search and edit window, and on the right, you've got your guidance, products, and notes. In this case, it might be that we're just looking to bring in some work sections to give people a step up in starting to write their specification. So I can search for the work sections I want to bring in. So in this case, I might want to bring in Windows systems. And in the same way, again, as when you're starting to create a specification, it brings up the same results. You can click on text of the system title to see the guidance. It will give you the Uniclass 2015 code, the type of clause, and what library it sits into. So in this case, I might just want to bring in an external Windows system. I can very quickly add that external Windows system. I might also want, for example, a suspended ceiling. Again, made a spelling mistake there purposely, but even when I search, it brings in a unit modular suspended ceiling system. So common spelling mistakes have been included within the search. I can add the unit modular suspended ceiling system. Now I might just want to build this up with systems so that somebody could take this specification into their project and use that as a starting point. I could equally go into each system that I've added and start to populate the system outline with clauses. And I could start bringing in, for example, if I click into this system outline, I could start to bring in the relevant system performance clauses. Now I've got a choice here. I could either bring them in as placeholders. And placeholders, if you remember when I save this, in fact, let's just do that. If I press save, you see it doesn't download anything into this system. So you could just use that as a way, a light way of starting out for any of your specifiers, so they can see what clauses you might bring in, and then they can make a decision on if they want to bring those into their job or if they want to just remove them. Your other option is to actually start bringing in and downloading the clauses into the system. So for example, we could select durability, we could select structural performance, fire performance, and so on. When I press save, it will download those clauses for me. And I could choose to leave those clauses blank, or I could start to bring in some either generalized information, or depending on how the master was going to be used, some more specialized information dependent on the types of jobs that it was going to be used in. Okay, a couple of other things that you'll probably find quite useful is, first of all, you can see it's saying Open Grammarly here, and I've got this G appearing. I've got a plugin on my computer for Grammarly that just helps with spelling errors and grammatical errors. It is not part of Chorus. In the same way, in a specification, in normal circumstances, you can park clauses. So if I didn't want to use system manufacturer, I can park that. And when this spec is copied across into my project, it will show that system manufacturer parked. If the specifier who copied it wanted to use system manufacturer, they could just unpark it as part of their specification. You can also add additional rows in the same way as you can with a specification. We've got our row actions menu that appears next to the P, these three dots. It will allow you to put additional rows in there. So I can insert indented rows, new row below, and I can duplicate a row. It will also allow you to add a note to the row. We can also add notes to the system, but in the same way as in the specification, these are spec only notes. Okay, so when I copied this specification into my project, it will not bring the notes along with it. Let me click back onto the guidance to bring that back up. We can also through type into any of the fields. So for example, in the guidance, in the description, I might turn around and say not to be used in changing rooms. And I can edit that text. I can change the formatting. If I highlight it, it brings up the formatting bar that allows me to bold it, italicize it, underline, strike through, put the bullet points in. I can also put a link in here. In this case, I'm just going to use the BBC website as an example. Press enter, and then that will turn that into a link that will work within the specification when it's copied into a project. Okay, let me save that. Brought those changes in. So my next question is there another way of me bringing in specifications into my master that I've already written, other than bringing in a building, landscape, or create specification? The answer is yes. You might have, for example, an exemplar spec that you've used on a project that you would like to bring into your masters and maybe generalize it slightly so that then you can use it for other projects. The question is, how do we do that? Well, first things first, let's click back onto NBS Chorus on the logo to bring me back to my project page. And as you can see here, I've got a project called Grass House. Now I've got a spec that I've created within that project that I want to turn into a master. It's just a matter of clicking into my project, opening it up, and there is my refurbishment architectural spec that I've done for this grass house that I would like to use on similar projects. In this case, just go to the right of the text, to the right of 16 minutes ago, and just click on these three dots. Once clicking on there, it gives me an option here of copy to. So if I select that, I can then either copy it to another project, or in this case, I want to copy it into a master. So I select master and then select the folder. I look in the masters that I've got in place here, and there are my refurbishment masters. So this is where this master will need to sit. I select that. I can then retitle the spec. So in this case, I'm just going to call this my refurbishment architectural master, for example. I select copy now, and it's now copying that spec from my project into the master folder. And you'll see that in my master folder now, I've been taken to the refurbishment masters, and there you can see there's my refurbishment architectural master alongside the architecture specification we copied before. I click into the refurbishment architecture, you can see all the content is there within it. It's brought everything across. And at this point, I will then start to work my way through this, for example, maybe go into handrail systems and start to generalize some of the content. Things that were job specific from where I've copied this spec from, I would remove in this case and put more general information in there. But it allows me to edit it in any way that I want, so I can just quickly come into the handrail system here. I could come into the performance clauses and I could bring in any performance clauses I wish to add to this specification. So now that I've brought that into my master, how do I allow other people in my organization to actually use these masters and take them into their projects? Well, let me save what I've done here. Now that I've saved what I've done, I'm just going to use the breadcrumbs at the top here to go back to my refurbishment masters. And you can see we've got both of our master specifications here. In order for me to enable my colleagues to be able to use these masters, we come up to team members, and this is the same way as you would in a specification. Click into team members and then I can invite users in. I can come in, select any of the email addresses from people in my organization. So in this case, I'm going to select my colleague Martin. And what I would do is, if Martin is only going to be copying specs from this organization, I would just give him reader access. And reader access means he can view and read the specs, but it also means he can copy them. So the benefit is here is while Martin can have access to these specs, he can't actually edit these specs in the masters. If I wanted Martin to be able to edit the master specs, I would then either give him contributor or administrator rights, and that would allow him to contributor, he could edit and make changes to the specs. Administrator, he could invite other people in to the masters as well. For the purposes of this, we're going to give Martin reader access, and we'll give him reader access down at the master level as well. Just a matter then of sending the invites to Martin, and then that invite goes across to Martin, and you can see here Martin is pending. Once Martin accepts that invite, he's going to be able to come into this master folder and he'll be able to copy any of the specs in here into his specification within his project. So once that permission's given, it's quite simple then for your users to be able to copy and use the masters. If I come back to my master specifications here, I've got two specifications that I've got. I've got my refurbishment architecture spec, which we just brought in, and I've got my architecture specification that I created before. If I want to copy this whole specification into a project, it's the same process as what we've just done to bring a spec from a project into the master. Again, we just click on the three dots to the right of the specification, select copy to, and this time, instead of selecting masters, we select projects. And then we can select the project that we want to copy this spec into. And I want to copy it into this grass house. So I select that, Again, I can change the title of it. So in this case, I can change this to Grass House Specification. Select copy, and I'll copy this master now into the project I'm working on, and you can see it's taken me into that project. And less than a minute ago it copied this across, so if I click into my Grass House Specification, you can see there's my external window system and my unit modular suspended ceiling. If I go into my external window system, you can see there's the external window system. In this case, we didn't put any content in it. It could be that we're going to use this just as a starting point to tell people what systems to use. You'll also notice that there's a rosette here. And if I click on that rosette, it will tell me exactly where this specification came from. So it's telling me it came from Refurbishment Masters and it was the architecture specification. If I click into the external window ceiling system here, you can see also it just shows me the details for that system. And again, there's a rosette there to show that this was used, taken from a Refurbishment Masters architecture specification. By clicking to my unit modular suspended ceiling system, you can see that all the edits that we had done, all the clauses that we had added have all appeared here. They've all come across. The rosettes are against every single clause that have been brought across. If I scroll up the page and I click on this link that not to be used in changing rooms, you can see that that link works and it takes me into the BBC News website. The specifier themselves can come in. If they wanted to bring one of these placeholders in, they can just click on that placeholder, gives them a preview, they can go add, and then they can turn that into a clause link. If they want to remove a clause, it's just a case of clicking into the right of the clause link that they want to get rid of, backspace, and saving it. They get the message that warns them that they're going to be removing a clause from their specification, and once it's deleted, they won't be able to keep it. They do have the option to keep the link clause and just delete it from the system. Okay, what happens if we only want to copy part of a specification? Maybe I don't want to bring in a whole specification, it's just a system or a work section that I would like to bring into my spec. Well, you can do that as well. I'll just click on back to NBS Chorus just to take me back to the projects page. I'm going to go back into my masters. And within my masters, this time I'm going to have a look in my Uniclass 2015 master folder. And you can see I've got a mechanical specification here. Now, I'm looking at refurbishing a sports centre up in Byker up here in the northeast. And I want to bring into that specification a couple of systems. So in that case, I actually want to bring in this natural gas supply system. And we want to bring in the low temperature hot water heating system because we're going to be doing some work on those in the sports centre. So by doing this, just clicking and ticking these boxes here, I select those two systems. And if I look in my actions here, I can see that I've got two actions. If I click on there, it's just basically saying I've got two items selected in my contents. I can go copy to, and now I can select my projects. And I can go and select the project I want to copy this to, and there it is, my Byker Sports Centre. If I now click next step, it will ask me to select the specification that I want to take it into. So I'm going to take it into my Sports Centre refurbishment, and I will now go paste now. And I will start to copy those across, and it's copied them into my Sports Centre refurbishment, but the behaviour has changed. Whereas before, when we copied a full specification, it took us to the project where it copied to. When you copy systems or work sections, it leaves you where you were and doesn't take you to where you've copied. That's just in case you want to go and search for any other work sections or systems that you want to take into the spec. So let's click across to our projects. Let's go into our biker sports centre, into our sports centre refurbishment, and you can now see that we've got a natural gas supply system here, and we've got the low temperature hot water heating system, and both of those are bold, and they've both got dots next to them to signify that they've just been brought in. If I click into the natural gas supply system, there's my natural gas supply system. It's got the rosettes again to indicate that this has come from a master. As I scroll down, I can see some of the products. I can even see actually that one of my product clauses was shared between the natural gas supply system and the low temperature hot water heating system. So it's sharing that mechanical plant and equipment identification labels. And if I just jump across to the low temperature hot water heating system, scroll down, you'll see there's some mechanical plant and equipment identification labels. Now some of you might be asking, what if I only needed to bring one of those systems across? Would it bring the shared product across as well? Well, yes, it would bring the shared product across, but it wouldn't be a shared product. I'll give you an example here. I'm going to go back into Biker Sports Centre, and I'm going to go into my changing rooms here. You can see I've got a low temperature hot water heating system there, but I don't have a natural gas supply system, which I actually do want for this. So I'm going to go to my master in my Uniclass 2015 master folder and bring across the natural gas supply system and bring it into this changing rooms this time. So I'm going to my masters, go into Uniclass 2015, open my mechanical specification, and this time we're not copying the low temperature hot water heating system because we've got that already in the spec. We're just going to copy the natural gas supply system. So I put the tick box next to it, go actions again, copy to, projects, select my project, Biker Sports Centre again, next step, and then select my specification, which this time is for changing rooms, and paste. Again, it leaves me where I copied it from because it's just a system. So if I click into my projects, go back into Biker Sports Centre, and this time into the changing rooms, there's my natural gas supply system. And I open it, scroll down, there's my products, which is the mechanical plant and equipment identification labels that's been brought across, but it's not shared. Now do you notice how this time it's a type A where it wasn't? So the reason that's a type A is because we've actually got another product clause within our content, which is a mechanical plant and equipment identification label. So let's just come to this search box and have a look for it. And you can see there I've got mechanical plant and identification type A, which has come in with the system I copied. And I've got a mechanical plant and equipment identification label that was already in their product clause. So now I've got a choice. I can delete, if they're both the same clause, I can choose to delete one and then just share the one remaining one between the two systems. If they're two different content in their clauses, then I can keep both of them there as they are. So you can see, if I copy two systems with shared clauses, it brings the shared clauses as shared clauses into the spec I've copied them to. Or if I copy just one of the systems with shared clauses, it just brings in all the clauses with it, but they're not shared. So it's quite simple for the specifiers to be able to copy that information into their specifications. Okay, so that is Masters. We've seen how to set up a master folder, how to create a master specification from scratch. You've seen that you can create a master from prelims. We can create masters from common arrangements of work sections. We can use existing cores, prelims, or Uniclass 2015 specs and copy those into our masters, but in that case it's always worth going in and generalizing them slightly so they're not job specific, and then that way you can use them across more projects. Showing you how to set up your master folders so that your specifiers can access them and copy the specs into their projects without editing those specs in the actual master file. And you've seen how your end users can copy specs from the masters into their projects and how they can copy work sections and systems on their own from a master spec into their own spec to use them for the job. If you want to get more information on masters, go to our website, which is www.thenbs.com. You can either go into the platform and click on Chorus, or you can go into Support, click on Specific Tools, NBS Chorus. It will take you into the Chorus forums where you can just search for masters, and that will bring up additional information for you around masters that you can read up on. There might be some information there that we haven't had time to cover today. Okay, go back to Chorus now. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time today. I hope you found this useful, and it will help you in setting up your masters if you haven't. Might give you some ideas of how you can use masters. We have got more masterclasses planned for next year. You will see more information on these on the events page as and when you can start booking for them, so please keep your eyes open. We will keep doing these sessions for as long as you find them useful. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.